first video meeting of the Z cycle. So I guess the roll call has already happened. I joined late on IRC. So I will start with announcements then. Okay, so the first announcement is regarding dropping the CentOS 8 stream jobs. So there was a recent mail by Ghanshyam. He said, like, he wrote that they were removing the Pi 3.6 support in the Z cycle. We have already removed that from our jobs. And with that, the CentOS 8 stream job was failing consistently. So they are working on the effort to remove it from Tempest and Nova, I guess, and also from DaveStack. So I'm not exactly sure. I checked Cinder and OSBrick, I think. They don't have any CentOS 8 stream jobs, but I'm not sure about other repos if we have some. But their general guideline is to remove the 8 stream job or replace it with the 9 one. So any thought, comment on this?
Is 9 up and running now?
I think as much as it ever is, those jobs, I don't know, seem to go unstable fairly often. And do we need to worry about the stable branches? Are they still supporting CentOS 8? Do you know, Rashad? I guess I should just read the email.
I think they're removing from master like Z cycle, so I don't think they will be changing anything on the stable branches. So for Z only, I think this applies. Okay, I'm also pasting the same on IRC. So yeah, I'm not sure if someone from IRC is missing here, so they can also read. So moving on to the second announcement, there was an email by Stephen Finucane regarding the log level change. So there is a config option that tells us in which format we need to see the logs, and they have changed the default value to show the local and global request ID in that. And they also say like DaveStack usually overrides that config option, so that shouldn't be an issue. But I think it's mostly for deployment tools. If they don't override and use the default value of the config option, then they will see the logging format in a different, like logging in a different format. So yeah, more information is available on the mail. The config option is called logging context format string. Okay, that's all I had for announcements. Also, John Bernard has proposed the release patch for final Missouri. Victoria, and the final Victoria release is merged like 17.4.0, and the other patch for the EM branch, it has 1+2, so it will merge soon. Like I think today is the deadline, so we'll be releasing final stable Victoria today. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all for announcements from my side. Anyone has anything else for announcements? Okay, then we can move on to topics. Yeah, let me just create IRC as well. So the first action item I think is regarding to the NetApp discussion regarding backporting the ZAPI to REST migration. So I'm not sure who added it, or it is just like copy pasted from last meeting. So uh, Fernando, would you like
Yeah,
to uh,
yeah, just a sec. Let me start. I think during the last meeting we kind of already tried to recap on what the discussion. So let me start copying the link to our meeting. So basically we have, yes, the discussion we have during the PTG is detailed in this Etherpad. So the problem that we currently have is that ONTAP is basically deprecating Zapier. Zapier is a old API system that is was used by NetApp since its beginning. And basically, we are moving to full REST to to common REST APIs. So or pure REST APIs, this kind of stuff. So what and although like the behavior and the calls should have we should have similarities, or we should have the same behavior on Zapier and REST. That we kind of we need to basically backport all the calls we did in Zapier to REST, and basically in order to keep our customers to keep for our customers the ability to continue upgrading on that. Like currently we have a problem with the fact that most customers are relying on versions of like old versions of OpenStack. For example, they rely on Train, or if they this basically occurred due to OSP that is currently on version 16 and based in Train. They will when we have an upgrade, it's going to be Wallaby, so it's not going to be to point to the latest version. So even if we just move our client to REST, and this is not and we wouldn't be able to provide the solution for our Red Hat OpenStack platform users. So if we could at least port to Wallaby, we could say to them just upgrade your cloud, and you are going to be able to continue upgrading ONTAP. But currently without with the possibility of backporting, we are kind of worried that these users that rely on Red Hat won't be able to continue using ONTAP, or even continue upgrading, getting more features for ONTAP. So this is kind of a problem for us. We understand that this might I wouldn't say kill our driver, but yeah, this would definitely impact in very important customers and clouds. So yeah, and this is basically why we would like to propose something around the possibility of backport. Of course, we discussed alternatives talking about downstream backports, but they may be conditioned to some kind of upstream backport. We need to start this kind of discussions. But yeah, and basically the main situation here is that now we have a situation where we are trying to backport something like a feature because we are moving Zappies to we are moving our client library. We have basically like a Python file, like a Python module with like all our Zappy calls, and the driver logic is separated from this file, but like we would need to like port this entire client module to REST. This is an effort that we are currently doing. We expect to have it finished for this release, for the Z release. Yeah, and basically we are not going we don't intend to make changes to the driver itself, like to features, to the business model, to like what the driver is trying to accomplish, but like how it's going to send commands to the ONTAP. So, and basically like this for some folks during our discussion, it can be considered as a new feature. In my point of view, I think it's kind of shady, but I'm not trying to just like I would like to explore alternatives for that. But yeah, and I think that's it. Like we have the situation that like some folks consider this a feature. This might be considered a feature, really. Yeah, this is a point of view. I think like yeah, but you know, like in, for example, one like the Zappy deprecation will occur in exactly I think it's going to be the end of end of next year, something like that, something around that. So starting for that period, we should start seeing like launchpad issues, complaining that they basically upgrade their clouds and like basically they can't use their storage arrays anymore. So yeah, it's something that would definitely become a problem. They will report lots of bugs. Of course, like we can stress the communication to try to avoid like upgrades, but they will happen, and they will be like problems can be huge, and we are not going to have like any like a it will be very difficult for us to like propose to give an option to the customer. So say for example, go there and upgrade to Wallaby or something around that. Basically because like we are stuck in Z, and Z's like a very recent. I don't know like when we are going to have like a OSP 18, for example, that could rely on Z, stuff like that. And yeah, basically, this was like the summary of this discussion. I don't know, like if you guys have, yeah, I will let you guys basically say something and give your opinion on it, and I will try to address your comments, address your if you have any questions, just ask, and I will try to address them.
I guess I'll kick off. I don't think Yvonne is here. I just forgot to look. All right, so I did watch. I missed the PTG session, but I did watch the video. And I was kind of struck with Yvonne's made an analogy with the way OpenStack claims to support certain operating systems and versions of Python. And I think this could be seen as a kind of similar thing that and we even have this explicit statement for Ceph, but at the time of release, right, we support a basic configuration of stuff, and then that's pretty much it. And then if you want to get more features, you have to upgrade. And the main reason is we want to avoid instability by backporting big changes. So one thing I'm worried about is the kind of precedent this would set. So but we can sort of put that aside. The other thing is our CI testing is based on master and not on the stable branches. So we would be backporting a pretty big patch. Right, it's not necessarily user facing, but on the other hand, right, if it bombs, then people are going to see the results of that. So I'm a little worried about that. The
Like you mean for
so
you
that,
mean like sorry, Esme, like you mean first party, right? Like like the community CI, right?
no,
Like
I mean yours, right?
yeah,
Because RCI doesn't really isn't going to be testing right whether
yeah,
there
like
are
our
mistakes or
plan.
not.
At least when we did the discussion during the PTG, we kind of committed to like have like the CI output for every backport we want to have. So for example, if we want if we want it for Wallaby, we are going to make our CI available for Wallaby, and we are going to and like definitely we are going to report results so the community can have like a sense of like a can that this can be more safely backport or like can investigate the results, compare with the more recent versions, and so it's kind of like a commitment like that we like we could definitely do. I don't think that that would be a problem. That like we are going to report results for every version we want to backport. And for example, if we can't back for any reason, if we can't provide CI results for Wallaby, we are not going to propose any backports for this version. This is not just because we want you guys to be comfort with, but like we need to ensure quality, and without like this the CI output like we can't have like any kind of yeah, we can be sure that we don't have any regression or something related.
Yeah, I
So
guess the other thing I would ask is it seems like, I mean, we want the support relationship to be clear about that, right? NetApp supporting this thing, which I think most people know. But I mean, in this case, right, we've got the problem that people might upgrade their backends, and then that's going to affect code that otherwise wouldn't be bothered. So I'm just wondering whether, right? So I mean, because for train, you've absolutely right. It's not going to get backward that far. So
hmm
from the Red Hat point of view, if you want to support this new stuff on OSP, whatever it is, 16 something, then right, you've got to handle that yourself downstream. And so I don't know that Wallaby is all that different. I mean, I think it might be better to have a clear relationship with your customers saying, right, if you upgrade your backend or if I sell you this new backend, you'll also need this. Um, but anyway.
hmm yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Like
it's not, yeah, I'm
so
sorry. Go for it.
no, sorry. Like I just like I would be we still need to like try to get some options from the Austrian as well, like to see like if they can think on possibilities of like providing a downstream patch for Wallaby, for example, like this would be good enough, like but like it would be much more difficult for us to have like different drivers, like for example, we would have like official the official in the official repos we would have a version without running rests, and like on in OSP we would have this option, so we would have different forks. I don't even know like how we would distribute this code with them. Like, currently, basically what we have is basically like we keep our official the official repo updated, and we ask in the Bugzilla for like backports for OSP 16 and so on. So I don't know, but this is something that I would need to we need to discuss with them, to start this kind of discussion. Our driver are currently certified, but I don't know how it would be for next releases. So yes, it's something that it's a conversation that we will definitely need to start as soon as possible. Yeah, but the first thing that came to our mind was the backport option. So this is why we kind of bring that to PTG and would like your feedback. We know that this is very like we know that this wasn't something we would like to bring because it's kind of a problematic. But yeah, but this was for us at least when discussing for us, this was the simplest approach for delivering stuff that Red Hat would be able to port, and for our customers that maybe are running clouds on Xena, for example. We have some customers that are currently on Xena, and we would be able to deliver a change for them as well. So considering our customers that want to keep more stable versions and still upgrade their ONTAP systems, I think this for some of them this might be a big deal. We have customers that continuously upgrade, and this will definitely break their no, kind of our the business model we implemented for. So
I guess the other thing that kind of struck me from watching the video was it looks like there's not like one-to-one compatibility right now with the REST API and the ZAPI API. So there still remain to be some features implemented in REST. So I guess I just wanted to see if that was the case, because I may have misunderstood. Because if that's the
no,
case, then we're sort of committed to not just backporting one thing, but backporting a series of changes as you expand to get the rest one-to-one compatible with the ZAPI.
No, for the features that we have implemented in Cinder, there is already the a full compatibility, and I think at that time we discussed because with 9.6 that was the first version that we had support for REST. Only a subset of functions were ported to REST. But now with a 9.10 and so on, and at the time of 9.13, that's when it's going to be removed. Basically, the compatibility will be 100%. And for for the state that we have now with 9.10, we are able to port port our driver completely. So this is not going to be a problem, at least for the Cinder and Manila perspectives, because we are kind of use more. We are not using any feature that's uh, really that was recently released. So
Okay,
yeah, I don't
thanks.
think this. Yeah,
All right, that's good to know.
yeah, and I think if we find a situation like that, the best option would be to disable the feature on both models, or have it only have the feature totally disabled on REST. So if you enable we would have a configuration option for enabling REST or ZAPIs. It would be a customer decision, and in case of they decide for REST and we could enforce the compatibility of a few features, we would basically disable the feature. And yeah, and at that time, a main concern was the fact that we don't want to backport driver features. If we implemented storage assisted migration, for example, we implemented that on the latest release. and we don't want to bring it to customers using Wallaby or Xena or other more older versions. But this logic is like implemented in another module inside the driver. So we think that basically the only thing that would be required in the backport would be to remove a few functions that are not going to be used on old backports. So this is kind of something that would be simpler to accomplish. Yeah, but basically, basically I know that this is kind of like a difficult decision. I don't know like if we are going to get like a decision right now. Like I'm kind of like I don't know like what we should like what should be the next steps. Maybe we should like try to port a few functions, try to provide a backport for you guys to analyze, to see like the impact that it would have. Like we know like we can go straight to the rules. The rules would say like that this kind of change it's not going to be backport anyway. But like maybe like some of the rules were designed when this kind of problem didn't exist. So and now we have like a more mature clouds running old versions, and like we have like more problems to address. And like I don't want to bend the rules, but like I would like to to get your feedback and understand what and like to really know from you guys what would be the best, like what you consider would be the best approach for keep the continue improving the driver and basically keep it like reliable and safe for using. So
well, what I'm hearing is that a backport needs to be done somewhere. The question is whether it's going to be upstream because the community allows it or not, in which case it will be a downstream backport. So either way, it sounds like you have a need for a backport being supported. We just don't know yet whether it's going to be upstream or down. My suggestion is to focus on getting the patches that you need landed on master first, perform the backport to your desired target releases, submit them upstream, and the community will vote. And if the community votes no and you get a -2 for the reasons we've just explained, then you take your case downstream and ask that the your distributions support the backport, which you've already got in hand. And then just ask the downstream, people to consider accepting the backport. I'm not sure if I was clear in how I stated that, but
yeah, I got it.
Basically, try it upstream. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, then you've already got the backport, code to show your downstream people. For example, OSP. And then the downstream folks will consider taking it.
Yeah, I think that's a sensible description of the approach here, Alan.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Like, would be easier for us to discuss if we had a concrete case, like if we had a patch to decide if we're going to like a backport or not. Right now we are kind of like we are trying to agree in backporting a patch that we don't know like if it's going to have like a 40,000 line, yes, or like a
right,
4,000 or 40,000 or 2 million lines, like whatever, like yeah, so it's going to, it's definitely something that's we brought the discussion right now because it's a problem that we want to have like a discussion and to start addressing and or like And before we see it happening, so basically the main idea is to solve the problem before our customers start to have problem on their cloud. So yeah, and we kind of have time for it since it's going to be deprecation will going to occur at the end of next year. So we kind of have some time to work on this feature and on to work on this change plus the backports. Yeah, but anyway, considering that we want to have it like running on OSP, then like as soon as we have stuff merged in master is better because like it's going to be naturally integrated to newer platform releases.
Yeah, I really like
Basically,
Alan's suggestion.
yeah, it's always easier for the community to vote on a specific patch than to discuss, theoretical votes on theoretical patches we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because in general we don't want to do this, right? And NetApp's been
Right.
really good about running their third-party CI, keeping it going, running it on stable branches when necessary. So this isn't a crack against you. But if we have a specific thing
Yeah.
we look at and it's kind of clear that this is a bigger patch than we like, but it's contained in a really good way, we can at least make an exception based on something very specific so that when other drivers come along and want to do something similar, we can say, if you can meet these criteria, then we'll be fine. So I like, instead of trying to make
Yeah.
a general decision now, I really think this is a better way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you guys are saying what you're saying because I didn't know how to word it, but I mean, obviously the team at NetApp has been very active and faithful in the community. So I'm of two minds in the fact that I don't want to say, hey, let's not do this and make it harder for your customers when realistically I believe that you guys will do what's necessary to make it a low risk change. And it kind of, I know other driver developers in the past or vendors have pushed things up as backports and held them there for use by the rest of the deployers. But if this looks like something that we can make a well-documented exception upon, my opinion is that we're willing to consider that and work with you guys on it.
Nice.
So I think that the long story short is it's not a waste of time to try to work in that direction, but I think having more concrete items to look at will help us make the final decision.
Yes, I totally agree. Yep. And yeah,
To paraphrase the movie, show us the patch.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we during the PTG we discussed the possibility like that would be better, considering backports to have like to try to like have like a split in like in features or something that would be easier to like to backport. Like we would look for a set of functions instead of like a whole file. Like a so we are kind like my idea is to we are going to basically bring like a base patch plus like a few of that subset of like ports, and we can come back and continue discussing, and you guys can provide more feedback, say like this is not going to like this shouldn't be the way you should be like change the way we are providing the patches for us to consider a backport or like a so we can restart the discussion with like some of these patches. Of course, like for having like all the patches available, we need to wait for like the end of this release. But for sure, I can bring for the mid-cycle, for example, we can bring like 50% of like the patches and already available, some of them with backports, and yeah, and basically we are trying to achieve that, and we can start the discussion again during the mid-cycle. I don't know, like if you guys think it's a good idea.
We have a conclusion on it, I guess, and there is no point of voting on it now. So
Yeah.
we can continue this discussion in mid-cycle or when So Fernando, what is the status of the upstream patch, this migration patch?
Yeah. So basically, we have just one patch that is upstream. All that basically is like a combination of everything that we did until now. The patch that we have is going to be we are basically abandon this patch because we just like get everything we had, put in a patch and submitted. But the idea we discussed was to have it in groups, in subset of in subset of functions. So we are going to have many small patches instead of have just a single patch so yeah, so basically we have these patches downstream and we are going to send then upstream during the next weeks. So we don't have all functions ported yet, but the idea is to in the next weeks we are going to deliver everything we have that is already grouped in sets of functions. So for example, we have a set of functions for the core features, for storage migration, for for every Cinder feature we have a subset of functions that must be ported in order to continue supporting that specific feature. So yeah, and for example, we have the storage migration on Z, but we don't have on other releases. So it's just a fact of not backporting this patch to Wallaby or Yoga or any other. So it would be definitely much more easier to adapt with smaller patches. Not sure if I was clear, but
Yeah, I got the big picture of it. So yeah, we can continue this discussion when the upstream patches show progress or when they are merged. Then we can discuss about backporting them.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so we have very less time left, so we can move on to the next topic then. So I guess, Brian, you have added these two topics, the statement about third-party CI backports and the statement about driver cryptography.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, so I just put them here. So please take a look and comment. The wiki pages basically say the same thing as the other patches, but I just wanted to make sure the stuff showed up everywhere. So two things to look for. One, to make sure it's clear and that it's what we agreed. And then the other is just if there's a place where we should also state one or two of these things that I missed, let me know. Thanks. That's it about those two.
Okay, that was really quick. Okay, so everyone please take a look at the patches. Okay, so the next topic is also by Brian. So yeah.
Yeah, so Dan Smith's been is continuing with the TC to be monitoring CI usage, especially because we're going to be losing the cloud soon. So we're going to have more constraints over our CI resources. So if you take he's put together a job to try to measure usage. If you take a look at this, C-bak is it's using a gig of memory, which is I think looking an order of magnitude more than everybody else. So I'm not sure exactly when this got measured, at what point during the run, but it's pretty horrifying. So we're going to hear about it. I mean, there's a patch up to that was going to just disable it in DevStack by default, but it was breaking Tempest. So I'm sort of tasked with figuring out where to move the tests or what to do. I think we sort of talked about this real quickly last week and thought, or 2 weeks ago, and thought that it's better to have stuff tested than not. But if we have to, we'll have to move it to a different job. So I just don't know. Unless there are things people see. So I see people put a couple of bugs. So we can take a look. But I was kind of shocked to see how much memory it's using. And I don't know whether,
Well,
during the time you're running the chunked, I don't know. Go ahead, Eric.
I don't know how this was measured, but there is a patch under review now to use less memory in backup. So we need to probably figure out how much that's going to help and see if it will alleviate this or if this is some other issue.
When was that memory snapshot taken, the one in the past bin? Was it taken after the execution of the tests of Tempest or before of that? Because if that was taken before running Tempest, then we may have a bigger problem.
I'm not sure. I'll have to find out from Dan exactly when it took the snapshot, but I'm assuming it was after. It seems like, yeah, it just seems a lot of memory, and you'd think it would be released. I know Gorka at least had put up a patch that because we were just holding too many references and the memory wasn't being released, but that merged a while back, so I don't think that's what's happening here.
We need its own drivers involved too.
See, I think if it's the default one, I believe that's Swift, right? So it's going to be using the chunk driver and passing stuff off to Swift. So anyway,
the memory hog complaint is about during the operation after it has completed or when exactly?
Yeah, I have to find out. It just said current time, so I'm not sure exactly.
Just at runtime, we know
Right.
it uses a lot of memory based on the chunk size. So we can, if we want during test to reduce the amount of memory, just need to reduce the chunk size of the backup, and it will less. There is a patch by Rajat, I think, with the documentation that I don't know if it got merged.
All right, so maybe we just need to change. I'll put up a patch just changing what DevStack uses the default chunk size, and just so that it'll take longer. But well, I don't know how big the test backup stuff is. It can't be that big.
Depends on the volume side.
Yeah, and I imagine they're like 1 gig volumes, right? And they're empty, probably.
I think we need to go do some basic memory profiling kind of stuff and figure out what's actually going on here before we just start changing chunk sizes and stuff. Unless you change it and see a drastic difference, but I'd be kind of surprised.
All right, let me get some more information and we can talk about this again. But it's going to be an ongoing thing this cycle.
Do we have a target for what a good amount of memory to use would be? We just want it to look like all the other services, or like what's the goal here?
I don't know. I mean, I think if we have a good reason for why it's got to be using that much memory, I just thought it would be right if you took the amount of memory the service is using, right, just before you shut down, right, it should have completed all the uploads. So regardless of chunk size, it should be right back to normal, unless there's something weird about the way it gets reported.
Well, we also have to make sure that it's a script that's actually accurately measuring this, because that's a notoriously hard thing to do correctly in Linux, and we need to go see kind of what it's actually doing.
Okay.
Yeah, and we also must not forget that it's not always our code that may be having hogging the memory. Well, not hogging, not releasing the memory. It may be related to Python garbage collector. It's not doing.
Hmm. Yeah, if it's not doing the garbage collection when we expect.
I think code card disconnected maybe.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll get more details tomorrow and report back.
Brian, regarding the chunk size also, and like the doc Gorka was referring to, I've shared that on IRC. So it has some information about calculations in RVD driver, like how much space does it take for its chunks.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, so if that's done, we can move on to the next topic. Just updating IRC.
Hey,
Nice. Yeah,
that's
Sophie,
me.
that's me.
Okay, so we're gonna give some introduction to this. Currently, we don't have a way to test multi-backend with Ceph, and we need this because we need to test restoring RBD backups to or from something else. I have proposed a patch to. Hey, you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have proposed a patch. Is the one linking there in the Etherpad to update the current job we have for LVM to LVM multi-backend to become a Ceph LVM multi-backend job. So on the one hand, we might lose coverage if we simply change this job from LVM to something else. But on the other hand, the idea was to reuse the job instead of adding a new one, since the current PI is kind of overloaded. So I need help deciding whenever to update the LVM job or to add a new one for the Ceph to LVM support. And this job is going to have the backup service running as well.
So the current job has things like migration from one LVM backend to another, right?
Right.
So you will lose that coverage if you do this, and as a trade-off to get a different coverage of LVM to Ceph or Ceph to LVM migration. The terminology is kind of confusing. I mean, the multi-backend previously here meant multi-backend, Cinder backends. You have two LVM backends. What you want to add is support for different backends instead of two of the same one, which is a good thing to do. But if we just change this job to this, I mean, we will lose some coverage of what's there right now, I think, unless it's in some other job.
Can't we change the Cinder multi-backend matrix migration job to be to run additional tests? Because that's basically it's basically configuring a different combination of backends and switching between the two in the Tempest configuration, running a subset of subset of tests. It's running just a subset of tests which consider the backend parameter, the volume backend parameter. And of course, right now it's called migration because it only runs the migration tests, but nothing prevents us from changing it to run the more tests. The only drawback is that at this time, the reporting of the task, the job, it's a bit tricky. It only reports a line for each combination. So it doesn't say, okay, those are all the tests, but like all the reports for all the tests you have executed. But of course, that can be changed. I mean, the main report will still be the combination one. So in this combination, all the tests worked or they didn't work, but we can also store somewhere the individual test reports if you want. Just please take a look. That's the complicated one.
Okay, so you are suggesting migration multi-backend matrix. That's the job name?
Yeah, maybe with a different name, because it's basically configuring two backends, and so it seems like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that job looks like you could just set the LVM and Ceph options, right, and get the same thing that this new job is trying to do. Is that the idea?
Correct. Just change the regex to run also the new tests, and prove it.
Okay.
Maybe.
And I can enable the backup service there as well?
If it doesn't explode, yes. I mean.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't understand the part of the line that you said. Like, I cannot choose the backend that runs the job.
That was answered by Rajat. So I wasn't checking which job we were trying to run. So the support for cinder multi-backend tests is poor in Tempest. I had a long-standing to-do in my to-do list to fix that, but it's very, very tricky because right now all the jobs just create whenever a test creates a volume, it just creates a volume. So there are only a few specific tests which explicitly create a volume in considering which backend you have configured. That's the problem. So you may. So I didn't know whether your test was one of the tests which considered this information about the configured Cinder backends. But as Rajat pointed out, yes, that's the case. So that's fine.
Okay. Okay, I can try that if everyone thinks that could be a better solution. Updating the current job.
What kind of tests do you need to run, or what you're trying to test here?
I think migrations would be nice between backends, but I need to run restore test from RBD to something else.
Right. So if you enable backup tests in that matrix job, it'll run like 4 copies of them, right, on each set of backends. And I don't know if that's useful or not.
Yeah, you will have all the combinations basically. They will have restore from LVM to RPD, restore from RPD to LVM, restore from RPD to NFS, and you got it.
Well, this is also assuming that matrix thing can actually set up different backup drivers too. I don't know if it does that.
No, it was not targeted for backup drivers, but in this case is the backup backend important, or is it about restoring to the Cinder backend the important parameter?
Well, my goal is to test RBD backups in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess yes, it's important, but I also think that it would be nice to try different combination as well. I haven't tested that.
Okay.
Well, the case that started this work was about restoring backups from a non-RDB backup storage to RDB, right?
Right. Let me see if I can find the original bug to give more context of this.
Well, what I'm getting at is the matrix thing. You're going to have to add some new capabilities to it to get it to do what you need.
So that's a bit more tricky. That will be reconfiguring the service itself, because I think right now the only thing, right now the job is just deploying all the 3 backends, and it's just changing the Tempest configuration to use 2 of them at each time. If you need to change the configuration of the backup, that's just one, and that's a bit trickier, complex.
So it could be difficult to do, tricky. Okay.
Unless you just want to stick with one specific configuration for the backup service, and then you just want to change the other options, at least as a first step. But in any case, you see that's it may be worth to have us. So either we end up with this job with some additional test metrics, which makes it more complicated, or we end up splitting the jobs even more. That's a question for Brian, because Sophia, you were saying that our CI is already overloaded. If I remember correctly, the report from the TST last time, I don't think Cinder was one of the worst consumer of the CI. We were quite okay in the end, apart from this issue with the memory and Cinder backup. But looking at the overall time spent by Cinder jobs, I think we still have some margin to extend a bit the jobs.
Yeah, right. So there's issues of who's consuming the most resources in terms of jobs, and then who's consuming the most resources within the jobs that are running. So Neutron, I believe, is like number 1 in terms of overall jobs because they test so much stuff. But we're getting people are hitting out of memory errors in various tests, and so that's why they're looking for who's a memory hog and then blaming the memory hog, whether it makes sense or not. So that's what we're looking at now. So
right, but once we fix that,
okay,
we may add jobs themselves.
Oh yeah. Nobody has said anything about trying to limit the number of jobs, right? The main thing they're worried about is rechecks, because those are like total wastes. And people have proposed doing partial rechecks, and I think the Zool people are completely against that because you can game the system and get stuff through that's actually broken, depending on how you do it. So they do not want to do this kind of a recheck where you just keep the ones you passed and only rerun the failure job. So the rechecks are a big consumer because they do everything all over again. So that's what we're really trying to focus on. It's just if we're consuming too much memory and then other tests are failing because of out of memory errors, then you got to do a recheck, and then that's what's consuming the resources. So.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I think I can add a new job for testing this in particular. Like,
So right. So yeah. So think of it in terms of right. If it makes sense to add this to an existing job, then do that. But if it makes more sense to just have a new job, that's fine. And then we can deal with other stuff later. But there's been nobody's made any suggestion that we should have fewer tests.
Okay. So I propose a patch with a new job, and we can continue the discussion there. I'll do that. Thanks.
So I think we are done with the agenda and we are also over time. So I will just stop the recording.